It was no humor in that moment. So I said, she's probably not the right one for me. So kind of hard to find, on dating apps. It feels superficial. It feels surface level. And so I stopped that a while ago, and I just run in different circles with friends, with church groups, and pickleball, and just see what may fall.
Okay. I'm surprised both of you say pickleball, because I feel like with pickleball, you're going to get squarely in that 60 to 70-year-old age demographic.
Pretty much.
It just depends. I mean, I don't know. All right, folks, welcome to this week's episode of The Boundless Show. This is Lisa Anderson here with you. Here we are for our roundtable. And speaking of super practical, these guys don't know that I have brought them here to literally throw them under the bus. No, I'm just teasing you guys. Be okay with it. We are doing a 2-part conversation on dating in your 30s. And so we're going to do a guy's version and a girl's version, because I wasn't confident that you guys could be in the same room and actually have this conversation. We're going to see how today goes, and then we'll see if we can eventually bring a meeting of the minds and make it a whole speed dating event. It's going to be super fun. So let's do it. Okay.
Boundless marriage.
Anyway, here we go. But today we're going to talk about what it looks like as a guy to date in your 30s, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of the above. And so I want to kick it off. We have got 3 guys here, like I said. We have Nathan, we have Jeff, and Dakota. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Good to have you here. Okay. All of you in your 30s. All of you dating at various intervals and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's good. So, and I'm just going to say this so we can jump right into this. Okay, you are early. You're just turning 31, aren't you, Nathan?
Yeah, 31's just around the corner.
Okay, so 31 going on 71, or you're not?
I wish I could say I was that old of a soul. I think I'm a younger soul, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay. Jeff, 38? 37.
Yes.
He's 37, but he's a young 37.
I would say so.
Not, I mean, attitudinally, not maturity-wise. He's a great guy. He's a good friend. So, and Dakota?
October birthday, so I turned 35 this month.
Oh my goodness, you're middle of the road. Okay. Now, are you one of these guys that when you turn the 5s, you feel like you're on the downward slope to the next decade, and there are tears and
groveling and just self-pity.
You're just like, loathing. My life is nearly over.
Yeah.
That's totally me on the 5s as well. So we are compatriots in that. Okay. So I want to start off by asking just when you think of where you are dating right now, okay, what does the scene look like? Like what, the scene, capital S, is this, you're just meeting people? Is it like you meet people, but it's super awkward, or you're not meeting women at all? Or what spheres do you have to be in to even find women that you are dating? And I'm going to have a follow-up question to that. So let's just start off with that. What is the current lay of the land? So anyone who wants to start, jump in.
I think what's tough is just out there in society right now for people our age, the lay of the land is dating apps. Everyone seems to be meeting or finding someone through dating apps. So if you're someone like me who's not interested in being on dating apps. Okay. I was talking to John about this the other day. I don't like how my soul feels.
Okay. Producer John.
Yeah, producer John.
Okay.
As I'm scrolling through women.
Okay.
On a dating app. So that's kind of the lay of the land.
It just seems consumeristic.
Right. Yeah, and it's also just a huge time waster. They are built to suck you in and get addicted to you. You get addicted to those apps. Okay. And so that's kind of how things are in society right now, which makes it hard for someone like me who doesn't want to be on them. I just moved back to Colorado Springs with the intention of putting roots down and hopefully meeting someone. I spent the last several years on the road touring, and it was just not an environment that was conducive to dating at all. Mm-hmm. So now that I've gotten here, this question has come up for me. It's like, where do I meet someone? So I've been trying church. I've been trying to get into hobbies like pickleball. Okay. And so far, just just scanning focus on the family. Every time there's a new
at lunch, he's just out like walking the halls. Okay, that's good.
So anytime there's a new hire class, I'm like,
word.
Please, God, please.
Around the corner.
All right, now it's just getting awkward. So, okay, Dakota, you better jump in.
Yeah, I would say I agree. I was hoodwinked once, Lisa, by a dating app, and she showed up, and I was like, "Oh, is this you?" She's like, "Yeah, that's my high school photo," and this was 20 years later. So I said, "Oh, yeah, cool."
Was it drill team? I feel like a lot of women use like their drill team photos.
Yes, it looked like
photos.
Cheerleading. Yeah, she was a cheerleader. So,
it was actually that. Okay.
Yeah. She was trying.
And I said, A for effort. It didn't go well. She did not laugh when I spilled the iced latte on myself, and I cracked up, and I was like, "Oh, awkward moment."
Yeah, like haha.
It was no humor in that moment. So I said, she's probably not the right one for me. So kind of hard to find, on dating apps. It feels superficial. It feels surface level. Mm-hmm. And so I stopped that a while ago, and I just run in different circles with friends, with church groups, and pickleball, and just see what may fall.
Okay.
I haven't thought of the focus thing, so I might have to start looking around work.
Well, I feel like I'm surprised both of you say pickleball, because I feel like with pickleball, you're going to get squarely in that 60 to 70-year-old age demographic.
Pretty much.
It just depends. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know I have friends that are much younger that are out there playing pickleball, but I'm just saying your odds maybe with some of the older ladies. But okay, Jeff, how about you?
Well, I definitely also tried the dating apps. I would say somewhere in the last handful of months. I don't think I'll go back. I've been trying to discern that. It's been a interesting road, but I would agree with the assessments and stuff. It does feel superficial. It's not who I am. It's not natural, and it's just unfortunate that the market's just kind of naturally gone that way.
Yeah.
There's only so much. I mean, we can't obviously control those things, and so we can just control our environments that we're in and such. And so, yes, I've tried church and social groups, some small groups with mixed gender and stuff like that, which is fine. Definitely done my fair share of asking women out at coffee shops and this, that, and the other, and that is very difficult for the ladies listening. It's not as easy as you think it is, but
right, yeah.
For the gents, though, give it a shot. It is hard, but once you start getting past that, it does feel it allows you to kind of think there's more availability, especially for somebody that doesn't want to do the apps, or if it makes you uncomfortable or something like that. But at the same time, all this, the way that things are, there's just too many things happening. And that would be my part of my stuff I would want to share today. Is there's just it's too overstimulated.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of genuine connections.
Yeah. And I would say, Jeff, you're actually, I consider you kind of an outlier in that in conversations we have, you actually do ask women out. I think a lot of guys are just like, well, I don't know if I want to ask her out, or I'm afraid to, or will it ruin our friendship and whatever. I feel like you're pretty bold. I thought, hey, Jeff needs to be on this roundtable because you're one of the guys who actually is willing to kind of take a risk, put it out there and stuff. And so, so to that end, for all three of you, okay, so let's address the elephant in the room, and I'm going to say this in a two-part question. One, for all the grandmas and moms who are like, you precious boy, how are you in your 30s and you're still single? Are you just turning down every woman out there, or do I need to find 10 women and line them up for you and you just pick one or whatever? So it's kind of a version of the what is wrong with you question, that you're still single when you could clearly be asking out these ladies, and there are so many ladies who, have their little Hello Kitty clutches and want to go out with you or whatever. Okay, so you guys are great guys. Why are you still single? And then to that, I also want you to address the question of, is it different now in your 30s than it was in your 20s? Have you seen a shift, or is it just kind of more of the same, or how has that transitioned for you? So kind of answer that big question, keeping both those things in mind.
Yeah, I would say definitely it's been different dating in my 30s versus my 20s. 20s, it's fun. Let's go out. There's no strings. There's no obligation. It doesn't feel like you're trying to even date, really. It's just getting to know people in your same age bracket and group. And having a coffee is much less stressful than in your 30s when it's, well, why are they having a coffee with me? Is marriage tomorrow? What's going on? So it just jumps so much further in your 30s than when you're in your 20s. And mine would be quality over quantity. So I do have the little old grandmas lining up 10 women and like, oh, what's wrong with them? They're all great. And it's like that quality I'm looking for in that partner, and the same values are lining up with my values, and they're following Christ just as earnestly as I am trying to every day. And so that's what I'm looking for.
Okay, that's good. Good distinction.
To answer the question of why I am still single, that's
please do, Nathan.
Question.
You better answer it. No.
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess I just haven't found that person yet. And that's not for lack of trying, but I think the difference is kind of what Dakota alluded to. In my 20s, it wasn't a serious search. It was more just, if I meet someone, sure, but it was more fun-loving, and I didn't have the same outlook on life that I have now, or focus that I have now. Now I'm more looking for someone who shares my values, and that's not as easy to find as you may think, especially on dating apps. You know, and you just get a blurb about them. But
well, it's true. I say this in general about men and women. There are many people out there, whether on apps or elsewhere, who are going to say, like, you might meet at church, and they're going to say that they're a Christian, and they mean because they were born in Texas, okay? Or they follow a few people on X, or they, or they put up a verse of the day meme, and you got to like parse that out and figure out what that's about, because a lot of times, you're going to be diverging on your paths pretty quickly based on your values. So, no, that's good.
Yeah, and I do same. I have the grandmas, the moms, lots of middle-aged female coworkers who are like, Nathan, you're amazing. Why are you still single? I'm going to try to set you up with every single woman I know who's your age who's also single. But let me tell you this.
Surely not every single one. Okay, whatever.
It's been more than you would expect, okay? And so here's the problem that I keep running into, and I don't want to sound shallow, okay? But it seems to me like every woman thinks every other woman is beautiful. And I don't have the same standards that women have for women.
They are, because they are daughters of the King.
Praise God. No, it's true. Praise it's true. Yeah.
Praise
Okay. No, I'm going to give you that. Okay, but explain. So you're saying that they just kind of put out this general, like, they're so great, they're wonderful, and you're like, I'm just not attracted. I'm just not.
Right. No, and that's normally the case. And I keep running into these awkward scenarios where they will show me a picture, and I won't be attracted to the person, and to say, like, I don't want to be shallow. I know it goes a lot deeper than just a picture, but I can just tell there's not a physical attraction there, and so I'm not necessarily interested in meeting up. And then I have to awkwardly dance around, like, no, maybe
just a coffee.
And so when Carl was here,
you just say, I think we might be related. Just put you're related to everyone, so it's not going to work out.
Just at my family reunion.
I think that might be my cousin.
I literally had that happen.
What?
We weren't related, but the excuse was I had a nice woman who I respect and admire want to set me up with her sister, and she showed me a picture of her sister, and I wasn't interested, and I didn't know how to tell this woman no, because I really look up to her, and she goes, my sister's name is such and such. Well, it happens to be my mom's name as well, so I could just be like, you know what, that's weird, she has the same name as my mom. And so I don't think I'm interested.
I've done the sister.
There you go.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I mean, that's a thing. That's a thing.
That's a weird thing, though, because I had a guy I had a guy with a situation like that who said he didn't want to go out with someone because it was the same name as his ex. And I'm kind of like, well, then you probably shouldn't be dating. You need to deal with the whole ex thing first and be like, because you know what? People have names, whatever. Anyway, I hear you, though. Okay, how about you, Jeff?
Okay, so I want to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think I'll answer the why I'm single part.
Yeah.
It'll probably maybe naturally happen that way, but I think some of the biggest difficulties in this topic is actually, first I'll piggyback off what you said, Lisa, about I don't remember exactly what you said, but something along the lines of kind of our general maybe expectations or so of how much of a Christian somebody is.
Yeah.
I think being a man, I've noticed that the expectations for us is where that problem usually highlights itself, mostly like what we're expected to be. And most, like, I don't know you two gentlemen and stuff, but I get good vibes. But like most guys in my circle are pretty amazing dudes. Subjective phrase, sure, but the amount of, I guess, like maybe a list that it feels like women have to what we're supposed to amount up to, and where we have a very like internal and hero complex. Typically, just being a guy, we want to do the right thing. Ultimately, we want to be the Captain America and like save the woman kind of thing. As existential as I'm making that, but it's like we naturally have that. We want to be the best we can be. However, I think the expectations in today's dating world has just elevated to a degree that is not only not easy to do, but it's almost impossible. And then you throw the Christian piece on top of that. I think then it makes it even harder. And I don't mean that to be like just generally rude to all women or something like that. I mean, it's like everybody's bringing in their own stuff. But when I look at a couple of my relationships and stuff, like I even had my own pastor one time be like, Jeff, I don't know what else you could have done. Going into, we were almost engaged and stuff. And it's like, not to get like overly personal into that piece, but I know a lot of guys in situations where it's like they get done with the scenario and they are beaten to death. And then we're asked to then just come right back up because we're men. We don't have issues, this, that, and the other. And while that's being asked, we're also being asked to be these emotionally available people. And there's just a lot of over-feminization of a lot of areas in life. And that's difficult. And then you go into church and it's like we're not really... I personally don't think we get built up very much in today's current environment. And I think we're just expected to be there, while women have a lot more choices. If a breakup happens, typically speaking, the majority of women are going to have more options immediately after. Which, yes, that can, Pete, you could just take that as just a thing I'm saying. But if you really dive into the topic and listen to a lot of podcasts like this and people talking, like a guy will be left oftentimes pretty broken and defeated. And it's not to say the woman isn't, or a woman in a certain situation isn't, but the recovery process, there's not a whole lot of grace for the guy. And then there's not a whole lot of, I guess I'll leave that part there. I'd say the grace piece is, I think, something that kind of leaves us more broken, and we're just expected to stand right back up. And then the ones that do, you have baggage, or you have this, that, and the other. It's like, well, yeah, we've been swiped left on like 9,000 times. So
it's almost
like more metaphorically and physically.
Right. It's almost getting back to what I said about outliers. And so with guys, it's like the expectation is, I was hoping you actually were a pastor, but a pastor who's also written his own books and who writes worship songs and who, again, it's just the lists. I've seen women with the lists, and not that guys don't have lists, but maybe the lists are shorter and not as granular. But it is weird. The idea of this elusive spiritual leadership and what that is and what that means, I think that is a litmus test that a lot of Christian women have for guys, and it has to look a certain way based on outliers that they know, whether that is, pick a Craig Rochelle or a John Piper or a Tim Keller or whatever. These guys in their 20s and 30s, are supposed to be these guys. So, so I think that's interesting. I don't know, Dakota, anything to add?
I mean, I was thinking through why I'm still single, and
hey, I didn't answer that.
You want to?
you go.
I was just going to say, I keep thinking I need to perfect myself right before getting in a relationship, and I struggle with that probably every day. I'm not in the Word enough. I'm not pursuing. I'm not holy enough. I'm not XYZ. You fill in the blank. Whatever guys think through. How can I then lead a wife and a family if I'm not there yet? And so I think that keeps me from truly jumping in and dating effectively and well in today's day and age. And a lot of it, society as I've grown up in society, has beaten down the hero, the guy stepping up and taking charge. And it's, I've had ladies tell me I can get my own door when I open it for them. And I'm just, that's like a chivalrous thing that I find just to be chivalrous. That's dead now. And it's so sad to see that going away. I'm still going to open your doors, ladies. Or
a guy who tries to be forthright is like creepy all of a sudden, or too aggressive or too, no, I've heard that
so
too.
That's been a struggle.
Okay. No, that totally makes sense. So what does this look like for guys in particular to be successful and hopeful in this? And, you know, Jeff, maybe you can kick it off by talking about, you can allude to why you're still single. But sure. Because again, you know, I said to you, I think you're a guy who really does kind of, you know, you're open to dating, you're open to setups, you're open, you know, that kind of stuff. But let's talk about, what does this look like for guys in their 30s who, we know that the age of marriage is climbing, the average age. I mean, now it is around 30 or even plus for guys at this point. So there is that. And I don't think it's like, oh, you know, guys, you just need to pick someone sooner. I mean, you don't want to pick badly because of that reason. But what does it look like to be hopeful in your 30s for dating while also being intentional about it, without getting too, you know, feeling like this is all me or else it's not going to happen?
You know, I think an easy avenue for men to, I would say, cultivate hope would be simply to be around more men, not necessarily just similar age, but that would be nice. I'm sure we probably all have roommates and stuff, but I think the more that we can be around other godly men, and then depending on what your work environment's like, whether you work at, you know, a Christian organization or not, I don't. I work in a gym. To be around men that are going to build you up in other areas that maybe you feel, I don't know, lacking, or just simply just something that really fires you up. I think a lot of guys are pretty like purpose is, I think, hard to really find when especially if you've struggled a lot in this topic, or if maybe you don't even like your job to some degree, and it's like when you don't have the guys around you firing you up, like almost think of like a locker room presence if you were ever in a sport, you know, and kind of if you don't have something like that is so natural to us to kind of build each other up and, you know, get the, you know, hoorah moments and stuff. Not to contradict my hero talk earlier, but like I think if having that energy with each other, I think is so huge. And depending on what your life currently looks like, that may not be there almost at all, and you may just think it is. And if that's there, I think it can provide a little bit more of a place that's always there, at least in our human environment. No matter what's going on relationally.
I think that's good. And to be, you know, you might have alluded to this, but specifically to pick guys that you admire, that you want to be around and want to become. So whether that's older men, whether that's guys who just have made some changes in their life and seen some difference and all of that. I think any of us, whether men or women, when we just hang around people who are equally as gripey as us or sad or discouraged or whatever, we're just going to pull each other down. And so finding those people that you're like, hey, clearly you've made some strides here. You've grown here. I would love to know what did that for you. So no, that's great. So
I would say stay patient and positive. Love often comes when you're least expecting it. So I've just seen that in different relationships, like you were saying, Lisa, older relationships that just at my church that speak into my singleness right now and say, Dakota, don't rush it. I found my wife when I was 39 and she's the love of my life. Yeah, she came with a few extra kids and, you know, a past, but we all do, right? That's what the Lord redeems us from, that past. So why can't we be gracious and patient with our future spouse and whatever they're bringing with them? Because we're bringing stuff along with us. So I love to remember that, is just be patient and positive and just know the Lord's working it all out for his glory, his good. So
it's good.
The way I think I cultivate hope is, I was talking to Dr. Greg Smalley about this the other day. I produce a crazy little thing called Marriage Podcast here, and we're going to have an episode debunking the idea of soulmates. Nice. And what Dr. Smalley said was, he spells soulmates S-O-L-E mates. Like and he told me, Nathan, it's your choice, right? The person you marry is your choice. It's not necessarily this fated God's timing thing, although I will say there's two parts to that. I'm reminded of Proverbs 18:22, which says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and receives favor from the Lord. So it's the two parts of that are he finds a wife, he who finds a wife. So you have to be seeking. That's how I stay hopeful, is that I need to be out there and looking. It's not just going to happen. It's not going to be magic. But also the Lord does have his hand in it, because when you do find a wife, you receive favor from the Lord. So that's how I stay hopeful. And that I can trust God, but I can also be out there seeking, looking for someone, knowing that it probably will be in his timing, but it's not just going to happen. I can't just play video games all night and she's not going to show up at my front door. You know, I need to be out there looking.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, to that point, we know that it takes two to tango, or two to date in this case, okay? And there are a lot of women listening because they want to hear what you guys have to say on this topic. And so I'm going to throw this in, and ladies, you just simmer down as you hear this question and these responses, because I want to ask you guys straight up, what is something that women do that they need to stop doing in dating? What's their part in this?
Yeah, man. So I was sad after Jeff talked about expectations, because that's so true. I feel like women have high expectations for men that are really hard to live up to sometimes. And the thing that they do in dating that I've experienced that is really frustrating, that I wish would stop happening, is that when you're still in the dating phase, so this is we're in a relationship, we're official, but when you're in the dating phase, I feel like women keep their options open. The door is open for whatever other guy is going to come into their life. If he lives up to those expectations more than, let's say I'm dating, or if someone comes into her life who meets those expectations more than me, then she'll ghost me and she'll go with that guy. Whereas when I'm dating, typically, even pre-relationship phase, if I'm dating someone, my eyes are on them, and I'm not talking to other people. I'm not keeping my options open. I'm seeing where this thing goes first, and if it comes to an end, then I'm back on the hunt. But I'm not staying in the hunt while I'm talking to someone else, or while I'm dating someone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you're much simpler than women give you credit for. You're not game playing. You're not all out there like, what are all my options and how can I play this roulette wheel of like relationships? Right. You're just trying to find someone great that you can get to know.
Yes, exactly.
I know, Jeff, you've said that before too. Kind of that idea of you do put the blinders on in a sense and focus on the person you're dating. Yeah,
and sometimes actually, if you listen, I don't know if any of you guys listen to like dating coaches or anything like that online, but every single one that I've ever heard would, especially if it's a non-Christian podcast, maybe it's like somebody that's guested on there, they'll tell us to do the opposite, to have like a lot of options and stuff like that because of how things naturally have changed in like to your point, Nathan, and stuff. But yeah, for like to piggyback off what you just said, Lisa, like that's how I've always operated. Is I get to that point, whatever it is, a few dates, and it's like I'm not thinking of anybody else. It's like a natural blinder. I'm not even like trying to shut myself out of the rest of the market or something. But then whatever happens, which I mean, I've been ghosted. I don't know how many times at this point, whether it's, and not just the dating app stuff. Like I might literally be dating somebody almost to the point of exclusivity, and then they just stop messaging. And so that I would totally agree. I don't even know if I would add anything to that, because I think a lot of women listening might think, well, I don't agree with that because I don't always have all these options and stuff. But that might be true, and obviously everyone's their own individual. But ultimately speaking, and I think this actually segues to what I said earlier. I think there's a natural like stopping point when this stops for a guy. Like it's like, oh, I've got to start over, and I have to do all the same things again, do all the things that I'm essentially required to do just to get the girl, quote unquote, and she's sitting there thinking about, well, what happens if this guy doesn't do this?
Yeah.
And if he doesn't do this, even if she's not consciously thinking those things, I think most of the time it's that, but I do think that they've been wired since I don't know, I think the last few decades with like the feminist movement and stuff like that, it's like there's a lot of good things that have come out of that with women working and, you know, all those things. We don't need to get into that. I won't ever get asked back. But
ladies,
I think,
you can still work.
Yes, ladies, please continue working.
Okay.
But I think with some of the things that have naturally happened with that, and then stuff like purity culture and how church has evolved and stuff, we're just expected to be the same while all these other factors have changed in our lives. And then no matter what happens to us, we get right back up.
Yeah.
Yep, you're a strong man, you do this, and then the girl could literally leave, and we have to be okay with that, and we have to be perfectly stable. We can't have any negative emotions. We can't be angry about it. Mm-hmm. We can't. I mean, like there's no answer except for you know, whether physically or metaphorically, you sit in the rain with your hood on and you grieve for months while she's off, most likely being pursued by somebody, because we're the ones that have to do that.
Yeah. No, that's good. Good intel. Dakota? Your advice for women, what they could be doing better in dating?
Communicating better with us men. We're dense sometimes, so we need a little more help with understanding we're not naturally born communicators. Some of us like to sit back and keep to our thoughts. We don't want to share everything that's on our mind. We just need to be prompted sometimes. And sometimes we don't want to talk about it, and that's okay. Doesn't mean we're not interested in pursuing you. It doesn't mean that we all of a sudden are withdrawing completely from the relationship. Just sometimes it's a bad day, and we all have those.
Dude,
and so
So
I just want to encourage that ladies out there, that as you're dating men and they're maybe quieter than usual, that don't take that as a sign, a lack of interest, but just maybe they just need a second, maybe a day to unwind from whatever is happening in their work life and their personal life. And we still want to talk about it, but maybe it just isn't the right time or moment.
Yeah.
And so give us that space sometimes, and it does help. So.
And you're saying you don't automatically know what she's thinking either? Like,
yes,
you're not just
please tell me what you're thinking. Like,
that would be that would be a great like finishing thing. Is like the reading your mind thing. Is I have had that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
like we are supposed to know exactly what's going on 24/7.
We don't.
And I'm glad you said that. The communication thing is huge. Because like even just being asked a good question could like the whole thing, whatever is going on in our brains, could be solved by a good question, and we just like want to get home and like recharge or something like that.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good, you guys. Man, such good thoughts here. I think this is just a great. I mean, we could keep going, I think, on this conversation. I will also add, be open to the setups. Okay.
Yeah.
Not from weirdos, okay? Not from people here at Boundless have heard me say multiple times that I kicked my own mother off my dating team because she did not have discernment. She was picking random guys that she didn't know a thing about. But people who know you and love you and have their heads on straight and know other great quality people, and they're actually really energized by like finding these fits and get those people on your team and be open to it. I think that's great. But I do think I agree with you, Nathan, that, you know, attraction is important. All of this, we can't just over spiritualize everything and say, oh, well, you know, you're male, she's female, whatever, just make it work. But at the same time, prayerfully, God will reveal things as we're out and about. I think that's great. So you guys, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good thoughts.